everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video. We are so happy to have you. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica, and we are the Certified Occupational Therapy Assistants with Harkla. And today we are going to talk all about tactile processing activities for all ages.
Most of us know what the tactile system is. We're at least familiar with it. It's pretty common. It's one of the 5 most familiar senses. And what's so important about this sense is you have receptors, you have tactile receptors all over your body as well as inside of your mouth.
And these tactile receptors allow us to feel a variety of sensations, including vibration, pain, light touch, deep pressure, all of the different things that you feel on your skin, and then, of course, when you eat and drink as well.
Our tactile system is designed to keep us safe. We have to recognize whether things are too hot or too cold, or if something is painful, or if there's a bug on our arm and we need to swat it away.
Like a mosquito.
Yep, it's our fight or flight response. We need to know if we are safe or not, and that is what the tactile system is designed for.
Now, in the occupational therapy world, we deal with 2 main types of touch, and that is light touch and deep touch pressure.
Deep touch pressure is directly connected to our proprioceptive system, and it's oftentimes very calming and organizing for the nervous system.
Some examples of deep touch pressure would be using a weighted blanket, using a vibrating massager like a Homedics ball. Joint compressions are also a type of deep touch pressure and proprioceptive input as well.
As well as massage. You know, when you go get a massage, you are so calm and so organized afterwards.
Now, light touch pressure is the opposite. This is the very light, gentle touch across your skin. And oftentimes this type of touch is very noxious and can cause adverse reactions.
It's a lot harder for our body to process this input. So what we like to say is for someone who is seeking this input, this tactile input, to offer this light touch because it offers more input that they have to really work to process.
Some examples of light touch would be playing with a sensory bin that has dry ingredients like rice or beans, doing tickles, like light touch tickles.
Messy play activities are great, using things like shaving cream or Orbeez or Jello.
And then even the clothing on your body, unless it's compression clothing, if it's just regular loose fitting clothing, that is actually an example of light touch.
So like we mentioned already, our tactile system is constantly working. It is constantly having to process the clothes on our back and the hair on our neck and the tags in our shirt because it's designed to keep us safe. So like we've mentioned, if there is a bug on our skin, we need to know, okay, there's a bug. Do I need to swat it? Am I safe? How do I proceed?
If you're outdoors, you're processing any of the outdoor elements that are surrounding you. Maybe the wind is blowing and it's blowing on your face. And then also, anytime you eat and drink, you're processing tactile input.
Oftentimes, children who are considered picky eaters can have some tactile sensitivities because they have those challenges processing the different textures of food inside of their mouth.
So that's a great example of children who have tactile processing and modulation challenges is when they're a picky eater. Now, picky eating can also be related to oral, motor, and oral structural challenges, but sometimes it is specifically tactile related.
We want to share a few more potential signs and symptoms of some tactile processing and modulation dysfunction. Just keep in mind this isn't an exhaustive list. We will share some more resources for you in the link in the description. But the first one is having a hard time processing the clothing textures on our skin, the seams, the tags, the inside of the socks, things like that.
That's a very, very common one when we're working in an occupational therapy clinic. Children really struggle with dressing, and oftentimes it's because their tactile system is over responsive to all of that tactile input from their clothes. Another one is going to be a fight or flight response with being touched, specifically if it's an unexpected touch. So when our children are at school, if somebody bumps into them in the hallway or in the classroom and they have a big reaction to that bump, it could be because their tactile system isn't processing that information.
Another one to look at is the child might not like getting messy. They might be very sensitive to food on their face or food on their hands while they're eating, or maybe they really don't like finger painting. They will refuse to finger paint in preschool or during craft time at daycare. Those are some potential signs to be aware of.
And then the opposite of that would be a child who seeks out tactile input. They're constantly touching things in their environment. They're constantly touching other people in their environment to the point where other people get a little bit annoyed because this person keeps touching them randomly. But these children seek out new and exciting or even just regular tactile experiences because their body is telling them, I need more tactile input, give me more. And so they're just seeking it out.
One last sign or potential symptom to be aware of is challenges with just everyday grooming activities. And this is where you want to be aware that if the child is struggling to get through daily activities because of their tactile challenges, that's when you want to seek out further help from an occupational therapist or an occupational therapy assistant. So things like brushing teeth, brushing hair, taking a bath, washing hair, putting lotion on, just daily activities that require that tactile processing and modulation on the skin, in the mouth. If those are challenging, then let's be aware of it and let's figure out why and what we can do.
I was also thinking of being able to wipe during going to the bathroom. That can be a big one if they're like nervous about getting their hands dirty while they're doing it, can be a sign.
So whether or not your child has tactile processing challenges, whether or not they have a diagnosis of anything, whoever they are and whatever they like to do, they can definitely benefit from these next activities we are going to share with you.
Activity number 1 is going to be sensory bins, and we love sensory bins. Sensory bin can be anything. It can be rice, it can be beans, it can be Orbeez, it can even be water. It can really be anything. And we love to hide different objects in the sensory bin to have the child reach in with their hands, use their sense of touch to try to differentiate the items that are hidden from the sensory bin materials and pull them out.
To make it a little bit more challenging, throw a blindfold on them so they can't use their vision to help them, and they just have to feel and discriminate maybe what item they're holding in their hand when they find it, what shape it is, what color. I'm just kidding, because you can't. You're blindfolded.
Because you can't.
So sensory bins.
Yes.
They're great. But don't forget to include multiple areas like your feet or your arms or your knees.
Hey, if you have a big bucket, you can make like a whole body sensory bin.
Yes.
Do it outside when it's warm to
Like
make
a sandbox.
it much easier.
There you
Even
go.
a sandbox could be considered a sensory bin.
Perfect. All right, number 2, vibration. We love vibration. It's very calming for some kiddos. It's very alerting for other kiddos. It depends on their unique sensory preferences. But using a ball like a Homedics ball, rubbing it on arms and legs and feet, rolling it on the bottom of their feet, letting them identify the amount of pressure that they need, just trying to avoid the chest, the stomach, the head. We only will allow that if the child is independently exploring that on their own.
Yes. Great tip.
Thanks.
For real. All right, number 3 is going to be light touch games, and we like to use feathers for this, and you can just kind of have an experiment game with it of tickling each other with the feathers and identifying, oh, that tickles, and maybe identifying like, oh, I don't like that, it's too much tactile input. And then we also like to use washcloths and vigorously rub the washcloth on arms and legs, and this is perfect for bath time for really young children. And then you can also incorporate identifying those body parts that you're providing that tactile input to work on body awareness as well.
We also love tactile processing, tactile discrimination games. So another one that we love is the Twister blindfold game. We haven't played it, but I'm dying to try it because it looks so fun. You basically are blindfolded playing Twister, and you have to feel your way to find the space that your right arm needs to go or your left leg needs to go. How cool is that?
I know. It sounds
Super
so
exciting.
fun.
We're going to get it. We're going to play it. We'll report back and let you know how it is.
And then you can also build like a tactile wall. Oftentimes, I've seen these in doctors' offices actually. And so you just have a whole bunch of like squares of different types of tactile mediums, like scratchy and soft. Velcro is a good one to use. And just create your own, DIY of tactile board that your child can explore with.
There are also some tactile matching games online. We'll link a few in the description below, but taking away the use of vision and having them find the matching tactile squares, or there's, a dog bone game where you have to reach into the doghouse and find the matching dog bones.
Because the dog bones have the different textures, that's right.
You can make those yourself as well.
True.
You could cover eggs, like plastic eggs with tape, and then stick some different textures onto them as well. So, or glue them. I mean, you could get creative with this one.
Number 5 is messy tactile activities. We love all types of different Play-Doh, Wodo, shaving cream, just any type of messy. You can use mud. Like go outside and make some mud and do some messy play and just really get in and get messy. Now, children who struggle to allow their hands to get messy, this activity is going to be very hard for them. So you want to definitely model. So that means that you do it as well. Grab some of their favorite toys that can get wet and get their favorite toys really messy, and then show them how they can wash it off. And that can be a really good way to engage them because they might be very eager to wash their toys and clean their toys, so they can then start to touch that messy tactile medium a little bit.
We did coconut oil mixed with cornstarch as our novel, tactile experience the other day with my little guy.
I was gonna say oobleck.
Yeah,
oobleck is a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that's a good experimental one too.
Yeah. And including your child in creating these sensory bins or these messy play activities is really helpful as well. So they can see you mixing and they can help to add the food coloring, or they can help to hide their treasures in the dough for you to find as well.
And always include your child in the cleanup process as well.
Oftentimes that is when I will notice kids who are sensitive to these tactile mediums. That is when they will actually touch the items because they know that they're done. So it's kind of a little trick.
These activities are really, really great to do at home, after school, on the weekends, as part of an obstacle course. Incorporating them at the clinic if you're a therapist is great, and then you can even use them as sensory breaks at school.
If your child or the child that you're working with is really struggling to process and modulate the tactile input, we have a couple of tips that we want to share with you in order to help them be successful, because the goal is to provide that just right challenge. So you're pushing them, but they are being successful with the activity as well.
We do have a podcast episode on the Just Right Challenge, so that will be linked below.
So the first thing is to make sure that you're empathizing. Know that these textures, these feelings on their skin could be giving them that visceral reaction, like nails on a chalkboard. It's really uncomfortable for them. Try to think of something that makes you feel uncomfortable in your own skin, and that will help.
Yep. We always recommend to model during all of these activities. So you complete the activities with the child, you get messy, you use the vibration, you do it with them.
Be patient and be consistent. So slow down, take your time, and then if it's an activity that your child really doesn't like or they're having a really hard time with it, if you just do it once, they're never going to learn how to process, how to modulate that tactile input. So try to do it more consistently and expose them to those noxious tactile stimuli as much as possible.
And if your child is really struggling, use a visual timer so that the child can see when the activity will be finished. And oftentimes that can reduce some of the anxiety that they're feeling, because they might not know when the activity is going to be done and they're just so nervous about it. But that visual timer gives them a really good cue.
Like we've already mentioned, make sure that you have them help with the cleanup process. Sometimes that will get them to touch the item because they know they're going to be done.
If you are really concerned about your child's ability to process and modulate tactile input and it's causing them significant struggles to get throughout their day, we do recommend that you get an occupational therapy evaluation and potentially receive some OT services to help with this.
Our videos and our podcasts and our courses are really helpful. We love them. We love sharing this information with you, but nothing replaces that in-person therapy. So definitely check that out to help your child thrive.
Make sure you like this video, comment with your thoughts on this topic, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Make sure you listen to our podcast as well. We have like 200 podcast episodes. We've talked about the tactile system multiple times. Lots of strategies there as well.
And then follow us on Instagram at Harkla_family, as well as at All Things Sensory Podcast.
All right, thanks for being here, and we will see you next week.
People need to chill out today.